Welcome to episode 1. I'm so excited for this day. I've been waiting for this for a long time. Okay, so I'm going to start out with what is a superconnector. Someone help me write this, named Danielle, and I love her. What is a superconnector? You know them when you see them, those sparkly, magical people who seem to have 8 arms and use them all to draw people in and then connect people strategically and fearlessly to everyone's benefit. A superconnector sees the invisible threads and the possibilities that most people can't. What can we learn from these people about animating our networks and strengthening new and old connections? And my specialty, finding love. All right, so Amira, I want to hear from you. What is a superconnector?
So I think a superconnector is someone that sees patterns well, that recognizes habits and patterns in people, both good and bad, and then can understand what resources can be used to augment those good ones and help restructure and rescript the bad ones. So it's connecting those dots, but specifically really structured to the person that you are, looking at and looking into to try to help or, give them some specifics. It's really tailored to that person.
So how do you see me as a superconnector?
I think that you very naturally pick up on patterns and habits of people. I think that you have a natural way of addressing challenging topics for people to be receptive to resources that can help them kind of rescript those negative things. And then when you connect them, they're open to receiving it. They have a willingness to hear the harder parts. And then I think accepting and adapting and working towards change becomes a lot more tangible.
Thank you for seeing me so well. So what we're going to do today is, we started to talk about what is a superconnector. Because, I'm a matchmaker and a superconnector. I'm both at the same time. I'm a lot of things, but I really, somebody said this word to me and I really embraced it. So that's a part of why we're doing this podcast. But we're also doing this podcast because
I was around for the origin of that word.
I know you were. Oh, we'll get there. But we also want to talk to you guys about how we met. So on every single episode, we're going to talk about the miracle of meeting someone and why they came into our life at the time that we did. And then we're going to give the people 2 tips on how to be a super connector or how to super connect in their life. And then we're going to do a fun little Amira game. All right.
Two people meeting or 2 dots connecting.
Exactly.
Right? And so how you connect those dots with intention.
So are you going to start? I want to hear, how did our dots connect, Amira?
It was meant to be. It was in the stars. So it was 1 year, just about 15 months after I got sick with a very rare autoimmune illness that debatably is called neurobichette's. It's so rare and difficult to sort of pinpoint, but I essentially overnight lost my ability to walk and most of the function of my body beneath the line of my breasts. And it was a very big adjustment. And so for that first year, I spent the majority of my life at home. I was immobile. I had 2 young children, and I lost most of my capacity, my autonomy, and my career.
What was your career?
I was working as a full-time emergency physician at Penn and spent a lot of time taking care of other people's illnesses and helping people through their worst days of their lives, which really helped frame what I was going through. And I think when I was going through it, I actually had a really strong framework of gratitude for a long time. But it didn't change the struggles and the hardships and starting over, essentially, in every way, especially for someone like me. That was a really big adjustment. So that first year, just to sort of paint the picture, was really challenging. I did not socialize. I had really great friends that really wanted me to sort of embrace parts of my life and parts of my personality that they felt maybe had taken a hit in the trauma of all of it. And one in particular, Yumi, who I trained at Stanford with for emergency medicine. our residency. She flew out from Texas for one night, 24 hours, and I vividly remember she said, "You're putting on your black eyeliner and we're going out." And I said, "No, we're not." And she said, "Yes, you are."
And what's the date? Like how long after?
So it was June 7th, 2019. And I got sick overnight, March 6th into March 7th of 2018. So exactly 15 months to the date. So March 7th was my day, which I refer to as my break day and now celebrate. But
as the day that you first got to sit the fuck down.
So the break day has a double meaning, right? So my kids understand it as the day my spine broke, which is not anatomically what happened, demyelinated, which has its own explanation, which we'll save for a different time. My bones did not break, but effectively it's the same thing, right? My spine doesn't work the same way as if it broke. So they believe break day essentially is a break day because mommy's spine broke. Alternatively, it's a break day because for me, I've always had this autoimmune disease and I've always fought through it. I will tell you that there is a strong stigma to being a woman with an invisible illness, being in medicine in the first place, going undiagnosed for a long time, and working in a field that is very unforgiving for personal and medical issues, among other things. By the time this came, it was a break for me. And I saw my wheelchair as an opportunity to sit down.
So I'm going to just back up for a minute.
Yeah.
So we're talking about September 7th. And just so you guys know, I've been a matchmaker for 7 years. I started in 2017. And soon after I became pregnant, I became a mom. And I remember that, like, you know, when I first started to be a matchmaker, I was like, okay, like, how do I do this? There's no real manual. And I just did what I knew how to do, which is approach people everywhere I go. But now I had an excuse to do it. I used to just go up to people as a kid and I was like, hey, I like you. What's your name? That's the story my mom tells. Mm-hmm. But now I could be like, hey, I like you. Are you single? So, you know, like I'm married. I'm a married matchmaker.
It's like I'm licensed to do this.
Yeah, I'm licensed to do this now. I can approach anybody that, like, I used to bike in Philly and like stop my bike sometimes if I would see a cute guy.
Beautiful, yeah.
So the thing is that, like, I became a mom and I was like, okay, well, now I'm pregnant, and I would like go up to people who are pregnant and say, like, oh my gosh, are you single? And then once I had the baby, I remember I was like, how am I going to like go out and about? And my husband and I had a deal with my mom. We're so blessed, by the way, to have a mom who lives. My mom's amazing. She would come over every Friday night and like sleep over. So I would kind of have a night off and have a date night with my husband. And like, I also wanted to have opportunities to still be out and about and meet people. Right. And I went out on that particular night to a networking event. And I remember that I was like, oh, there's nobody here that's interesting, or nobody was single. And I was like, and then I noticed you across the room because Amira is really beautiful and striking. And I was like, well, that's someone that I need to approach. And I went up to you and I was like, hey, I'm Michal. I'm a married matchmaker. Are you single? And you laughed so hard. And I didn't notice your chair. I didn't notice anything about you. I just like noticed your eyes across the room. And I was like, I want to talk to this girl.
Well, yes. So back up just a little bit. I did make it out the door, but not that far. We stayed in the hotel bar where Yumi was staying for the night. And that was good enough for going out for me at that point. Socializing wasn't something that I really was like eager to do. And she really did drag me out of my house, at least to her hotel. And we didn't make it out of the hotel yet. We made it just to that like front bar. And
you had black eyeliner.
I did do the black eyeliner for her. It was just a really tough time. You remember, I was also very newly postpartum when this happened. My youngest son was only 3 months old when I got sick. So 1 year out, I have a 1-year-old, I have a 4-year-old. My body's going through the postpartum changes, but now immobile. There's a lot of weight gain and all sorts of insecurities that intellectually I know better, but emotionally I am human. So there were lots of dynamics to why I was really uncomfortable with being out.
And then here I come, I'm like charging at
So
you.
didn't even make it to beyond the bar at the hotel, and we're sitting there, and majority of the conversation with Yumi, I mean, we've been through, the most horrific stories together, resuscitating children at Lucille Packard. And you go through those things, nothing's off limits in life, right? So we were talking about all of it, everything. And there's no question she can't ask me. And then intermittently you were popping over and, it was just an interesting dynamic and a very welcome one too at the time, because it was just very different and a very different energy. And I was already there welcoming the different energy. So at the time I was like, all right, the more the merrier. Let's do it.
Interesting. So I asked you if you're single, which, you weren't, but you were like, no, but you could sit down with us. And so, Manuel and I sit down and we started to talk, and I just have this feeling just like that I remember of everything else disappearing and just me and you. We're very fast talkers. You're not talking really fast right now, but you and I were like,
because I'm talking with intention.
Just talk. Just be yourself. Just talk.
I am being myself.
Okay. But do you remember that we were just talking so fast?
Yeah, but Yumi's a fast talker too. But yes, I know we do talk really quickly, and we just connected too very quickly.
Yeah, and we just sort of played a board game, and we laughed and laughed.
You were eyeing me up for a while.
I was checking you out.
You were a little bit like a shark. You circled us. And so I noticed you too. You were noticing me. And I was kind of trying to figure out what the event, what it was you were doing there in the first place. And then you were checking in and kind of like saying hello. And then eventually you're like, yeah, just join us, sit down and hang out. We played some card game and, like an icebreaker type thing, and got to know each other in a very that's why we didn't talk about, my chair or my disability. It wasn't really relevant to the topic, and it really wasn't what we were talking about with icebreakers. And it was nice though for me to be, not on that topic for a change.
Yeah. So I know for sure you didn't mention it at all, because we had this moment of like, oh my God, should we take this elsewhere? Should we go to the next place?
We're like, it's so loud.
And then you pulled out, and I
rolled out backwards. Yeah.
Yeah. And
my little beep, beep, beep. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, honestly, look, I approach people wherever I go, but I haven't ever approached somebody who
we're not that observant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for digging on me.
I'm actually teasing
because
you are one of the most observant people in that regard. So
yeah,
it's interesting that you didn't notice it.
I guess I just wonder if I would have approached you
with my personality
or your eyes, but I'm just saying I don't know if I would have approached you if I did see your chair first.
Well, so that makes me sad, because I will tell you, as someone who is in a wheelchair, that isn't something that you should have a negative response to or some inhibitory reason to not approach. I think most people are comfortable with telling you their boundaries. So you're someone, I feel, who this is why you actually do what you do so well. You take feedback really well. You're able to receive people where they are, and you're able to receive feedback from people in a not without emotion, but in a very empathetic way that's about them. And I don't necessarily feel that a lot of people have that skill set. And with that, I think if you were to ask somebody and they didn't want to be approached, or they were not interested, they would tell you that with their boundaries, and you would receive it and be fine. What's the outcome there? What's the bad outcome there?
I guess I'm saying, and I appreciate the feedback. We don't get a lot as adults, and that's why I keep you around for many other reasons too.
Great. No.
Also, like the
testing,
having an emergency, doctor as
a
friend
on your
when I have two little kids is nice, but I know other people who are amazing and dynamic and happen to live in wheelchairs, but there's something, it just provokes like a fear. Like you just feel a little bit afraid to cross the oh my God, you should know me, I should know you.
Well, it's because there is a personal boundary there, right? We have been taught in society that health is something that we don't discuss. Mental health, physical health. We don't talk about those things freely. And so when you ask that question, you're like, am I in a personal boundary? Am I asking something that's too personal? I will tell you, as someone though in that wheelchair, if your perception of that is then inhibiting you from an offering of an opportunity, I will give you more often than not offer the opportunity will be received well. Right. Now, you're still going to have people with boundaries, but I still think you're certainly somebody that can receive those boundaries.
True. I will just say,
You'll be surprised with what you get back, I'm trying to tell you, and there are a lot of people who want an opportunity to have a voice because the voice is unique and tailored really to a specific, life and set of circumstances.
I think you're saying it to me, but you're also saying it to everyone, which I think it needs to be said. And, I'm a sexologist by training, and a core part of my training as a sex educator was the understanding that we are all sexual beings. We are all people who are worthy of love. And for some reason, we look at certain people and we desexualize them, or we think that they're not worthy. And
sex is a bodily function.
Yeah.
It needs to function. And if it doesn't function well, your physical and mental health won't work well. So you have to pay attention to it. You have to talk about it.
Yeah. And I would say a part of my training and my master's degree was looking at all types of sexualities and all types of people who participate in sex through different stages of their life, even working through spinal cord injuries and things like that. So I do feel that not that I was prepared to meet you, but I do have an understanding of the world and human sexuality. And I believe that everybody deserves love and deserves touch, But anyways, okay, let's go back to that night. So it's September 7th. You kind of shut out the world. You weren't really interested in new friends, and barging in.
Not interested in new friends.
Yeah. You're just trying to meet your one friend who came for 24 hours.
You also have to understand the state of trauma that I was in at that point. My Maslow's hierarchy was not, my basic level was not met. I wasn't able to meet some of my very basic needs. I was learning to diaper my child at the same time I was learning to diaper myself. It was that basic. So I did not have the capacity. It wasn't a want or not want. It was a no capacity for new friends, no capacity to put that time, that effort into friendships. Because in my opinion, friendships are, they're intentional and they take work too. All relationships do. And I don't enter those relationships unless I have something to give. And I didn't have anything to give, and anything I did have to give, I had to give to my kids at that point. So at that stage, I was conserving it on purpose. I said, I don't want to invest in that. I need to invest in learning these everyday routines. I need to learn and adapt at home for my children. So it was intentional to keep my unit small. Yeah. And then you came around and we sort of clicked. And, it's interesting, the timing. It was approximately a year after I became paralyzed. And it was approximately a year before the world became paralyzed. So it was about a year before COVID hit and everything shut down, literally shut down. And our relationship was so unique following that night in particular, because we had that one night, which, digressed from there to a little ride around town into Chinatown and then dinner at Penang. And we just had, a good old time.
It was a great first date.
Yeah, it really was. It was a very free flowing and, what's happening next, full of fun and excitement. And Yumi and Manuel were great extras, right, on the ride. And that night was that night. And then we left and we did not speak again in person for about 2.5 years.
Yeah. I do remember texting you and you not writing me back. And I'm like, I remember this woman and she will write me back one day. Because I was just,
So initially you came, not for me, but you were persistent in texting me and reaching out to me.
That's a nice word.
Well, persistent, I would say. You weren't annoying. It wasn't like it was all the time, and it was not in an inappropriate way, but you were checking in and not in a check-in let me help my disabled friend, but just hey, what's up? How's life? What are you doing? And, I was just, again, very inundated and my capacity was low. And, it wasn't like we were living in circumstances or working in circumstances where friendships happen sort of coincidentally. This was something that had to take effort. And so, you put in that early effort to kind of keep us connected. And then COVID hit and, you had another child and you being up in the late morning hours nursing and my neurologic dysregulation and kind of cyclic issues with pain and vomiting kept me up. and tortured at times, and being able to communicate with you and talk to you kind of in the silence of the world, the silence of my house, the silence of my kids was so freeing. And the way you received me again with, like I said, you have this ability to receive feedback and emotion with such clarity and sort of I don't know if you detach your own emotions from it, but you do it in a way that you can really show up for the other person. And that's a really special skill set. And, it drew me in.
For you
it just drew me in.
I remember, how like when you meet someone in person and you hear how they talk and like you get to know them and you whatever.
Writing at first. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had the memory of you talking, right? But then into the pandemic, we started to just be texting friends. And I text in a certain way that's like line as my thoughts come out. But Amira is a brilliant writer, and she just writes paragraphs on paragraphs, and you write poetry. Yeah, it's overwhelming, and the thoughts, and like you have so much medical knowledge and but I'm just saying, you like sent me creative poetry, and you like just wrote me thoughts and helped me understand, and we just became pen pals. Like I didn't hear your voice. Yeah. I didn't hear your voice for a long time.
We didn't even make phone calls, and why couldn't we? But we didn't.
I don't know why we didn't make phone calls.
Well, no, there's a reason. It was because it was 3 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're not talking in your house, and you were with a sleeping baby.
Yeah.
So we didn't call because it didn't make sense to call. We literally texted, and long text, like of stories and pictures.
Here's what's going on with my marriage, and here's
WhatsApp stories. Our entire scrapbook of our lives.
Yeah.
It's our pictures, our stories, our ups, our downs, our in moments, out moments. Everything.
So at some point we're like, okay, let's meet. And I was on maternity leave with my second child, and she was 3 months old. And we were like, okay, let's finally meet. And I just took the stroller, and I walked, it's like a 30-minute walk to your house with her. And I
walk all the time.
I don't mind walking, and maternity leave is the time to walk the city. It's what I love about Philly.
And well with my rolling.
I finally got to see you again. And my memory of that day, aside from you took a really beautiful picture of my daughter, is that you said, like, I love babies. Can I hold her? And you sat her right on your lap, and we went to the river. And you said to me, like, do you notice that people are smiling at me? The only time that people smile at someone in a wheelchair is if they have a baby on their lap. And you kept on talking, and I was like, hold on, I'm trying to process that you just said that to me. That's so painful to hear that,
Well, just to reflect on what you just said about, would you have even approached me if you saw the wheelchair, right? People view it as a deterrent, and they even won't make eye contact. And, it was a big adjustment for me. It happened to me overnight, right? And so to go from being seen and being interacted with and being acknowledged to then being...
As Dr. Bass?
Well, that actually didn't matter to me, just as a human being, just on the street, to be given eye contact. And then all of a sudden, because of this, people avert their eyes. People literally run the other way because they think I'm going to run into them. No, I'm sorry. Like, I have spatial recognition. Like, I have a physical disability. Like, other parts work. There's a lot of misconception. There's a lot of, I think, societal fear. And I think those things contribute to the way that you interact with disabled people. And there's a lot of avoidance and a lot of sort of like inhibitory interactions. So, I think, for me, the wheelchair is an aid. It's the best thing I have. It allows me to live an active life. It is something I'm proud of. And it's something that it was a big adjustment for me to go socially from this interactive person on the street to being in the wheelchair. Now, the flip side is I had these 2 young children, and strapping my 3-month-old, my 3-month-old son to my chest and rolling around, all of a sudden the whole world not just smiles at us. They stop, they interact, they literally giggle. It is all of a sudden a beautiful sight that's embraceable. And, I can't say necessarily that it made me want to do it more, but I'm sure the dopamine did. It's like an immediate dopamine hit to have a baby on you, for number one, and get smiles when you're moving around and baby giggles. And, it transformed, even for me, the experience. It actually contributed to a lot of the writing I did. And I think was a very cathartic part of the acceptance piece for me too. But I think the way the world interacts with wheelchairs is really interesting. And then you add a baby to it, and It's totally different.
Yeah, so I remember.
And it was different. You saw it.
Yeah, no, I saw it
in real life, right?
And I remember you said that.
Actually saw it.
And it struck me. And we hung out that day after so long. And then what do you remember from that day of finally hanging out with your pen pal?
Well, the best part was my best memory of that. So it's funny your best memory is with your child. But the best memory I have of it is after all of this pen pal world, right? We were talking in my kitchen and you said, Amira, I really love you, but you talk way too fast. And if you're going to talk this fast, it's not going to work. And what did I say? Do you remember? I said, you know what? I love you for that because I do boundaries really well.
Yeah. Oh, I loved you for saying that.
And I said,
don't do boundaries the best, and you're teaching me.
Because I said, if you didn't tell me, I would never know. I would go on to irritate you. And then eventually our relationship would suffer, right?
Yeah.
Instead, you tell me, I'd make an adjustment. And
yeah,
there we are.
Oh, I remember. The other thing I remember from that day is like, I have a newborn, sleep or whatever. And I started to just maybe go on that. And then I was like, wait a minute. Oh. I feel so uneasy right now complaining about my life to you. And you were like, stop it right there. You and I are not going to be friends. You shut that shit down right away. Do you remember what you said?
I think I just said, there's no way that we can be friends if there's any level of hardship comparisons. That life is relative, that we all go through our struggles up and down, and it is a personal experience. And in friendship, I have to be able to support you and hear about those struggles openly. But equally, if I know that comparison is there, I can't ask of support of you. I can't openly share, right? And I truly believe that friendships have to be built on that open, honest communication. And I knew that if you were carrying that you wouldn't be open and honest with me about your life. I would sense and feel it and probably also have to tailor and not be open and honest in return. And I didn't think either one of us were going to be able to benefit, not maximally, from not sharing our truths. So I said right then and there, no, not doing that. I said that I respect your hardships. I don't compare them. I can see and understand in the patterns of your life how those hardships are very similar, actually, to the hardships of mine, because it's all about acclimation, right? It's all about our capacities. Yeah. So it's less to do with the specifics and just about how it affects you.
Yeah, that was really powerful. So I think all of this goes to why did we meet when we did? And you want me to go first? Or, yeah. Sure. I think that you showed me my superpowers because I met someone who was shutting out the world. I saw the world completely shut down. And I was like, I think I really am a superconnector, that, someone who's literally blocking everything out. But for some reason, she let me in.
Here we are.
I was like, maybe there's something great about me that I didn't realize. It's not just about the miracle of matchmaking, which is a miracle, but also it might not be me who's doing it. It might come from God or whatever it is, I might just be a channel, but that I could be your friend. I was like, whoa, there's something special about me that I didn't realize until I was in connection with you. Does that make sense?
Well, that's really, really sweet.
Yeah. So why do you think we met?
I mean,
I think you met me.
I can't, for me, there has to be something very kind of clandestine about the timing. I don't take those things lightly. And where I was in my life, I needed someone to show me a new perspective. My whole life changed overnight. My body, my career, my family structure, and my place in society, my autonomy, being able to, while still going through trauma, have a sounding board or a place or a safe space to do that kind of inner work. I mean, I'll tell you, it's just terrifying to think about starting over on all of those platforms. And you gave me just such a safe place to explore connections and connect those dots and try things on. You were like a fitting room for me, a safe, private space to see what would fit in this new life of mine that I was learning day by day. I had 36 years of perfecting my old life. And when I met you, barely a year. And it was really difficult to accept on many levels, and how to address change and when. And, you were just the right sounding board, the right space, the right capacity for me.
I think, thank you for saying that. And I think the other thing before we sort of wrap up on our meet cute is, I think you showed me.
And Manuel was pretty awesome too.
And he was there.
Brings you points.
He brings me so many points.
Yeah,
I'm
your
so
husband
lucky.
brings you a lot of points. Yeah. I pick up on those things, actually. I'm like,
Yeah.
anybody that has a shining relationship like that in front of me, I was like, these are people I want to be friends with.
Yeah, because the night I met you, he was right there with me.
So, and the whole night, yeah.
And he was there the whole night. But
from start to finish. Yeah.
I just want to say that, like, meeting you when I did in my life at the time, I think it showed me that there is something divine. There's something happening. It just made me believe in, like, the cosmic forces at play, because you were never outside. I was out.
No, I literally didn't leave my house.
You didn't leave your house.
I had nursing appointments, multiple in a week. They came to me. I mean, I was densely paralyzed at that time, and I've had some small recoveries. But I mean, at that time, it was bedbound essentially. And so getting me out to a hotel bar was an undertaking, and had its challenges. Yeah. So, I mean, it was.
I had never been at that hotel.
It was a very unlikely thing. Yeah. And my friend was there for 24 hours, and she dragged me out the door. I mean, it was a lot of stars aligned for that night to happen.
Yeah. So.
And then you intentionally made sure that we made it through the pandemic.
I guess I want to, I love you a lot. And I want to wrap up with, like, giving people some tips on connection, because I am a matchmaker, and I think that people come to me and they want me to, like, fix it all, and just, look, I'm one person and I try. But I think that at first I thought my job was to move mountains, and now I have a very different understanding of the universe and how it works. And I ask people to try to get an understanding of how many friends they've made. And I am shocked by how many people don't make new friends. And if
it's capacity based,
I know, but if you're going on all these dates with all these people on all these apps, and
why not maintain a friendship?
Yeah.
Because it takes effort and intention. And when people want to put their eggs into a romantic basket, they don't want to put the eggs into a friendship basket, because that's energy and effort.
But are these not all connected, Amira?
They want to, but they still are minded. Now, I agree with you, because what they can't see yet is that building those friendships is still doing personal and inner work, and builds new other ripples and other connections.
Yes,
but
ripples.
In that moment, it's an egg in a basket concept, right? They want to put all their eggs in the romantic basket, but they don't understand that, diversifying that profile a bit can also yield quite a lot of really positive outcomes.
Yeah. I guess for me, as someone who, like, people see me as being like a hunter, like, I pay you and you're going to go out and, like, hunt all these men for me, and, like, just fixer. And actually what I ultimately am is a gatherer. And when I gather people, who I want in my spaces are the people who are collaborative and friend makers. That's who I want. I want people who know how to make friends and see the beauty in other people, and don't just focus on romantic potential.
But what you're talking about is personal work, right? That's why I keep going back to a lot of the dots are looking at patterns within people and figuring out, the inner work and the personal work that has to be done before you can offer really sound and balanced partnership.
Well, then why don't you give one more piece of advice on connection, and then we're going to
I would say, I think for me, dot connecting and even in a more like tangible way is, you have to think outside the box.
Yep.
Sometimes to connect two dots, you can't be traditional about it. And even look at the way we were and how obstinate I was about wanting to leave the house that night. And, what came of it was very much outside of the box for me. And I think that you have to be intentional. And sometimes that means doing things that are a little uncomfortable, seeing things from a slightly different perspective, shifting that narrative or that script a little bit. And I encourage people to do that with intention.
And also, if you can leave the fucking house, then they can leave the fucking house. Like, seriously.
I think everybody has different struggles. Some are visible, some are not.
Okay. But still, Amira, if you can do it. Okay, so with that, we're going to do something called Amira Explains It All. Recently, we just went out for dinner, and Amira did this thing where she explained everybody's story in like a minute or less. And I was like, this is my favorite game I've ever played. And I see that you're being so slow and intentional when speaking today, but now I want you to be the real you. So I am setting my oven timer. And you're going to have 1 minute to just give us a breakdown of what happened on this episode. And you could look at the camera to do it. So I'm putting a minute on the clock, and Amira's going to talk about what just transpired. You ready?
Okay.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Today, we discussed all things about connections and how to maximize getting the best out of resources and people and matchmakers and make the best changes for your own life. We discussed how Michal and I met and how the stars aligned for us, and being open and thinking outside of the box and receiving feedback in safe space really created a foundation for us to build a beautiful, beautiful friendship. From there, we became essentially superconnectors. She is the queen superconnector and matchmaker and is able to see patterns and connect resources and really help carve people into the best versions of themselves. She did that for me and got me out the door and continues to challenge me and hold a safe space for me.
Oh, I love that. And by the way, calling me a queen, no big deal. I was named after Queen Michal in the Bible. So thanks for that. All right. That was episode 1. Thanks for doing this, Amira.